The Power of Ritual, Turning Everyday Activities into Soulful Practices by Casper Ter Kuile. This is the author. To my father, who taught me when to follow the rules, and my mother, who taught me how to change them. Preface by Dacher Keltner, Professor of Psychology, UC Berkeley, and Faculty Director of the Greater Good Science Center. We live in an era of fragmentation. Scholars have studied how our communities, families, churches, neighborhoods, work teams, and bowling leagues are transforming. Once stable and enduring, now as a result of economic and social forces, they are filled with people who have a more transient commitment to their jobs, locales, friendships, and marriages. For deep and historical reasons, our sense of identity is now more fragmented, for better and worse. We have more complex and richer spiritual identities than in the past, more complex and richer gender identities, and more complex and richer ethnic identities. We are living in a globalized world. There is much to praise in this era of fragmentation. The rise of rights and freedoms, the growing number of women in power, the democratization of art forms and information, and the glacial but accelerating move away from the homophobia, sexism, and racism that defined our recent history of colonial conquest. But there is much to be concerned about as well. People feel the absence of community. Studies find that the average citizen of the US, and likely the world, is lonelier than ever before. People have fewer friends. They spend inordinate amounts of time commuting in the car or scrolling through online feeds. People feel less trust toward their fellow citizens and work harder than before. The technologies many of us greeted with such enthusiasm a decade ago are now proving not to be the utopian digital new world of connecting and sharing, but a different kind of new world, defined by anxiety, loneliness, endlessly comparing oneself with others, and perhaps surveillance. Our era of fragmentation has paved the way for an era of anxiety. And this fragmentation has pronounced costs for the mind and body. As a professor of psychology, I teach the science of happiness at University of California, Berkeley and beyond to hundreds of thousands of people in online courses, digital content, and in my podcast, The Science of Happiness. Over the 20 years of this engagement, I have been asked one key question. How might I find deeper happiness? The science points to an answer in the abstract. Find more community, deepen your connection with others. Be with others in meaningful ways. Find rituals to organize your life. It will boost your happiness, give you greater joy, and even add 10 years to your life expectancy, science suggests. Deep connections and the sense of community reduce levels of stress-related cortisol. They activate reward and safety circuits in the brain. They activate a region of the nervous system called the vagus nerve, which slows down our cardiovascular system and opens us up to others. And they lead to the release of oxytocin, a neurochemical that promotes cooperation, trust, and generosity. But I have been hard-pressed to point to deep, practical, principled ways to build connection, community, and a sense of ritual. Now I can. In Casper Ter Kuile's illuminating book, The Power of Ritual, Turning Everyday Activities into Soulful Practices, we find a roadmap to greater meaning in life through community. A first step is through the creation of everyday secular rituals. Rituals, in my view, are patterned, repeated ways in which we enact the moral emotions of compassion, gratitude, awe, bliss, empathy, ecstasy, that have been shaped by our hominid evolution and built up into the fabric of our culture through cultural evolution. I learned this from Casper during the summer of 2018. He invited me into a ritualized experience of Saint-Germain-des-Prés, my favorite cathedral in Paris. Before entering the illuminated space inside, we circled around the building clockwise, taking in the stream of sounds and images that meditative walking brings about. We then offered alms to a man begging at the entrance, feeling the deep sympathies of charity. Before sitting in a pew, we genuflected and made a request and offered a quiet, reflective thought, prayer for someone we care for. We took in the stain
Sample complete. Ready to continue?